Baker Mayfield is the straw that stirs the drinks in Tampa, and he is the MVP in my opinion. We'll see if Julian Council agrees on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That is not a lie. It is the truth. It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. 6 weeks down in the National Football League, and Julian Council is here with me today to do what we do on Locked On NFL, and that's go around the league using the help of local experts to keep our finger on the pulse of all of the action. And you can be an everydayer. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us, making us your team every day. You can be one too. All you got to do is just come back every day, and make sure you catch the podcast wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And also thank you for listening to Locked On NFL. And a reminder, you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. So make sure you go and check that out. All right, let me give you a little bit of a roadmap to where we're going and what we're going to talk about. In the last segment, we're going to talk about Julian Council's Carolina Panthers. Oh, my man. And the Pats, Drake May, another person that Julian Council knows a lot about as a North Carolina Tar Heel. We're going to talk about them. Right in the middle of the show, the Steelers, quietly 4-1, quietly being the operative word. Ain't no noise coming out of that cave or wherever Aaron Rodgers hangs at. They're being very quiet, but Baker is the straw that stirs the Bucs. I'm going to start right now by making an MVP proclamation 6 weeks into the season that, to me, Baker Mayfield looks, acts, and is actually producing the way an MVP should, Julian.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And when you consider the offensive line injuries that Tampa's had, also looking at receiver Chris Godwin injury, Mike Evans injury, and even Emeka Egbuka, who's been really good for them, the rookie from Ohio State, there hasn't been any drop-off. This offense has continuously gotten better. And then when you also consider he's gone from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen to now Josh Grizzard, and again, the offense has not fallen off. It's only gotten better. It's gotten better because Baker Mayfield has gotten better. And Baker Mayfield, at least in my opinion, I agree with you, man. 6 weeks into this, without Monday Night Football being played tonight, he looks like the MVP of the NFL.
Baker, the head coach maker. That's what it is, man. It seems like everybody that's his OC gets a job for him being some sort of reclamation project, when he probably is the MVP, and anybody could step in there and do that. Sorry, Liam. I'm just saying that as a Jaguar fan. But here's my man, Yarcho, down with Locked On Bucs to talk about what's going on in Tampa.
No Evans, no Godwin, no Egbuka, no problem for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. James Yarcho here from Locked On Bucs, talking about the Buccaneers' 30-19 victory over the San Francisco 49ers, moving them to the top of the NFC. And look, injuries have been a problem for the Buccaneers all year, and losing the leader for Offensive Rookie of the Year in this one was devastating. But once again, this Buccaneers team found a way to get the job done. The defense forces 2 takeaways, and they bent, but they never broke facing this 49ers team. The Buccaneers now need to get healthy ahead of their Monday night game against the Detroit Lions, who look like not just one of the best teams in the NFC, but one of the best teams in the NFL. You hope the Egbuka injury is not long-term and he's able to come back next week. You're hoping for Mike Evans and Bucky Irving to return next week. But either way, I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is a special football team that just finds ways to get the job done. For more on this and all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers, check out the Locked On Bucs podcast 5 days a week, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you, James Yarcho. He didn't even mention Jalen McMillan. I know every time I mention McMillan as a wide receiver, we're going to talk about 2-touchdown tap, but we'll get to that later on. But that's another one. For what he's doing, they are dangerous. If he happens to get any of those dudes back, along with Wirfs, and they start to get on a real roll, Tampa is a dangerous, dangerous team.
Oh, no, I agree. And they're going to get those guys back. All the injuries that they've sustained are not long-term season-ending injuries. They'll be back at very least, all of them together in the next month. So they're going to continue to get better. And you look at the division that they reside in, the Saints, while they've been a lot more competitive than I thought they would be this season, they're not going to beat Tampa this year. Atlanta, they came close, but Tampa was able to hold on to that game week 1, and that was on the road. They're not going down there and beating them in Tampa. And then they don't play Carolina until the end of the season. And we'll see who Carolina is really going to be, as they have some important games coming up here against Buffalo and against Green Bay as well. But that's 2 games I expect, at least the one in Tampa, that the Buccaneers should win. So they should go 5-1, 6-0 in the division, and that puts them in prime position in the NFC. And you look at it too, like San Francisco, another one of those teams that they would be battling for a top spot for, they just beat on Sunday. And that's San Francisco team that has watched Nick Bosa be out for the season, watch Fred Warner go down for the season as well. The injuries Tampa is sustaining are not ideal, but they're not injuries that are costing them games, not injuries that are going to plague them for the rest of the season, much like we saw last year in Detroit, where that derailed their year. So Baker has been outstanding. You look at all the categories, whether it be success rate, EPA per dropback, EPA per play, explosive pass play percentage. He's sitting there in the top 5, top 7 of the NFL among all the quarterbacks through 6 weeks. So yeah, he looks like the MVP, even though FanDuel has Josh Allen still at plus 140, Mahomes at plus 270 for whatever reason. Mayfield's right there behind them at plus 470. And yeah, I'd go ahead and put some money on that if I were y'all.
Speaking of Mahomes and getting people back, Rashee Rice is going to come back to practice next week. They were just trying to make it to 500, man, in those first 3 games. That's usually not the kind of talk you hear from KC, but they beat the Fighting Kneecaps, the hottest team in the league, with the Detroit Lions. Well, they met that toughness head on last night in Kansas City. Here's Locked On Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs dial up the juice and survive the Detroit Lions in that offense to get themselves back to 500 and a little bit off of the microscope that they've been under for quite a long time. I'm Ryan from Locked On Chiefs. Join us for all the details there, but you have to give them credit. They brought a new type of energy, from Isaiah Pacheco to Xavier Worthy, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce starting to look like their old selves. They brought a lot to the table. Fans should be frustrated at times with the kicking game. Special teams is still a question mark, but they're making progress, and they can get that sorted out as long as the offense continues to give Patrick Mahomes the time that he needs, despite not having Josh Simmons. That is a long way to go. Kudos to Jalen Moore, who was the standout in this game, who was able to step in on a day's notice and protect the backside of QB1. The Chiefs have a chance to pull above 500 and get back with the rest of the AFC West. That's coming this week on Locked On Chiefs.
Yeah, they looked good last night. A lot of people are paying attention to the brawl that happened after the game. I'm actually going to give Brian Branch some credit for not doing it during the game and costing his team. He's going to cost himself some money nine times out of 10. But I saw the play. What Juju did was dirty and nasty, and he deserved to get punched in the face. That's just me. And you know what? It's a fine that I would take. But, you can't do it, obviously, and hurt the team. But the Chiefs did look good last night.
Yeah, it's a fine, and sounds like it's going to be a suspension, whether it comes down from the league or actually Dan Campbell, because he said it's not acceptable. And if that's the case, then you have to suspend a player. Maybe they add even something on top of that. So, yeah, not ideal to see that after a hard-fought Sunday night game. But Kansas City, they're rolling right now, and it is crazy that they're talking about, hey, just wait till we get Rashee Rice back, and this thing's really going to be rolling. Because looking at it right now, looking over at True Media, they're 6th in offensive success rate. They're 9th in EPA offensively so far. So they've been a top 10 offense through 6 weeks, despite all of the issues that they've had, whether it's been receiver injuries, it's been Josh Simmons not playing last night, it's been Jawan Taylor not staying on side or false starting every single play. Just insane that it continues to happen. But Mahomes, they get it done. And you look back at last week when they lost to Jacksonville, they actually had their best success rate of the season, the best one offensively out of any team in the NFL, and I was in a loss. So even in those losses, a close loss that is, where Trevor Lawrence just has an amazing touchdown there at the end, they're still humming offensively. So I look at Los Angeles and I look at Denver, and I'm like, man, y'all really should have done more in these first 6 weeks to get some separation, especially the Chargers, the games that they've lost. Because right now you got Kansas City 1 game behind you, and it feels like the Grim Reaper's right there ready to go back out there and take over the AFC West.
Grim Reaper ain't messing around in Pittsburgh. That's right. He's not welcome there right now. They're 4-1. We're going to tell you about their success in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Mizzen and Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Mizzen and Main exist, and that's why they exist. Mizzen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable simultaneously. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected that ever since. Now, I'm carrying a little extra, right? So I need to make sure I have something that looks good, but also makes me feel comfortable. And Mizzen and Main does that. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with the promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. And our show today is also brought to you and sponsored by Mazda. We're moving the game forward, man, just like Mazda. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward was a scramble by Baker Mayfield where he broke tackles like Bronco Nagurski and stretched out and got a first down when they were only up by 1 point against the San Francisco 49ers. Then he jumped up and celebrated and dared anybody to get in his face. And I love that because when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Rolling along here on Locked On NFL on a Victory Monday for a lot of people. You know what? That's the thing about the NFL. For half the people, it's Victory Monday. For the other half, it's not so victorious Monday. Pittsburgh Steelers haven't had to worry about that. Only once in 5 games so far have they lost. And to me, it's been very, very quiet. Maybe it's because they've been winning. Because Aaron Rodgers has had a lot of noise over the last few years, not just the 2 he spent with the Jets, but even the last year or 2 in Green Bay. And we wondered if Aaron Rodgers was going to play nice with Mike Tomlin and play nice in the organization. He's played well so far, and they have won. Here's my man Chris Carter after a victory yesterday over the Cleveland Browns.
Hey everyone, Chris Carter here from the Locked On Steelers podcast, giving you your post-game reaction to the Steelers' 23-9 win over the Cleveland Browns. It was a dominant performance in the trenches from the Steelers as they sacked Dylan Gabriel 6 times, Nick Herbig getting 2, Jalen Ramsey getting 2, and then of course, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith teaming up as well for half a sack each. But meanwhile, on the other side, the Steelers pretty much control the line of scrimmage as well with their offensive line against one of the best defensive lines in football. Myles Garrett held to just 2 assisted tackles, no tackles for loss, a single pressure, no sacks. He was dominated all game by the Steelers' game plan as they contained him throughout the game. Also, the Steelers' run game went off. They got over 100 yards on the Browns and largely moved the ball at will when they wanted to in the third quarter where they had back-to-back touchdown drives. The Steelers' offense with Broderick Jones on the line, Jalen Warren in the backfield had a pretty strong day. I'll break down more of what happened and how they got this win and how they're at 4-1 on the Locked On Steelers podcast.
Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like beating Cleveland is all of a sudden this great thing because a lot of teams have done that over the years, especially in recent memory. But I will tell you this, not worrying about how you win, just win the game and play a certain brand of football. It's week 6. They're figuring it out. They're finding their identity. And Aaron Rodgers ain't pouting about anything. I think it's a good start for the 4-1 Pittsburgh Steelers who are just doing what Mike Tomlin teams seem to do.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of the division, have they already won the AFC North?
Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore, they're at 1-5. And even when Lamar comes back and the schedule gets easier, hard for me to believe that they're just going to rattle off like 9 in a row, 10 in a row and be right there and able to win the division. So like that's over. Cool. Joe Flacco, he's up there in Cincinnati. They looked better, but that's also over. And then, yeah, the Browns. So I mean, Tomlin got it done. So
Right.
and it's gone a lot better than I think anyone expected, because you did wonder after the whole situation in New York, where, I mean, of course, it's the Jets. So I guess none of us should have been surprised by how things played out there and how things are playing out currently for New York. But Aaron goes over to Pittsburgh. He stops going on McAfee and stops, with all the drama and the soap opera of it all. And now he's in Pittsburgh. He's fallen in line and he's played good football. And the Steelers, while I still think are a little suspect defensively, they're sitting in a position where there's really no excuse for them not to win this division. I suppose the only excuse would be if Aaron, knock on wood, goes down. But other than that, like, this should be their division. And for all the Mike Tomlin haters, I think there's actually going to be some real pressure on him to advance throughout the playoffs, because when you have a home game, no one should be going to Pittsburgh and beating you. You should be able to win that game. And then it's going to come down to going on. And really, can you position yourself well in the AFC? Like, AFC East is now going to be a battle between Buffalo and New England. It looked like going into the season, it was going to be Buffalo is going to cruise there. It's going to be a battle in the AFC West, as you have the Chargers and Denver, and then Kansas City behind the 8-ball. And then you look at the AFC South. Okay, Jacksonville, they're in a good spot. Houston, we'll find out about them. Indianapolis, but Pittsburgh may actually be in a really good spot to be the number 1 seed, just based off of the neighborhood they reside in at this point in time. And of course, who their coach is and who their quarterback is. So I think there's real pressure for them to be in the top 2 at the very least. And then once they get to the playoffs, like, they're going to need to win some games.
And you mentioned something. You mentioned all of those teams. I'm glad you did it. You were right in my head, man. You're in my wheelhouse. Because for Baltimore to make it back, they're going to have to win the division. Because I was thinking, okay, if they could run it off and get to 9-8, but all of those teams you just named are off to good starts, and they're not going to catch Pittsburgh. And you know what? With Jacksonville and all of these teams fighting, and the 3 teams you mentioned in the West, and the Patriots, who we'll get to in the next segment, and then these guys right here, the guys I'm about to show you right now, even if they don't win the division, they're another team that's off to a really, really good start, and Baltimore might be out of range to catch them. Check out my man Hicks from Locked On Colts.
The Colts win a nail-biter here at Lucas Oil Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals, 31-27, to move to 5-1 on the season. It was a weird one from the jump today. Anthony Richardson and Charvarius Ward both injured during pregame warmups, out for the game. Shane Steichen said he kind of had to rally the troops and get everyone refocused heading into the game because they had a job to do. Daniel Jones, kind of led a few nice touchdown drives there. Tyler Warren and Josh Downs were instrumental in this one on offense as to, getting open, creating yards after catch. They both scored touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor with yet another 100-yard game, of course, kind of taking over a little bit in the second half. The defense did not have its best day. I think they were really throwing a curveball, especially with the Charvarius Ward injury.
We're going to stop right there. First of all, shout out to the Colts for winning, right? I ain't never seen dudes hurt themselves in pregame warmups. Somebody said that one of the bands that the bands that I was going to say that we use, but I ain't going to sit here and act like I be working out all the time. But those bands you see people use, hit him in the eye, and then Charvarius, what? No contact. Wait a minute. So you lost 2 guys to injury before the fight even got started. That's weird, but it's also weird that the Colts are sitting there 5-1 with Danny.com as their quarterback, or Danny Dimes, or whatever they, Indiana Jones or whatever. But that's just another team that's just running away from Baltimore, and they ain't gonna be able to catch all these people.
Man, that guy has so many nicknames at this point in time. But Indies, they're good. They're a good football team, and I mean, we've talked about this throughout the last couple of weeks. They always had the talent on the roster, like Jonathan Taylor. We forget about him. He's outstanding. And they had the receivers in the first place. Their defense has been solid enough. And especially now, what they got going on up there, they just needed a quarterback who could get the ball out on time and take care of it. And no one expected to be Daniel Jones. It has turned out to be Daniel Jones. And I mean, you look at them, they're probably going to be the favorites to win that division. Now, there's still a long way to go. Jacksonville and Indianapolis haven't played yet, so I'm very curious to see how that game plays out once they get there. Then if Houston, who's kind of sitting back there still lurking, if they can get back into the race there in the AFC South, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But yeah, man, Indianapolis has been really good. Shane Steichen's done a great job, and he's done more than it seems like save his job. I mean, he's building a team that can actually maybe be a contender in AFC. Like, I really feel like the AFC is pretty wide open this year. I still feel like Buffalo likely is going to end up being the number 1 seed in the class of the AFC. But their path is a lot harder than it felt like it was going to be a couple weeks ago.
Yep, and it's going to look even more surprising because there are a bunch of surprise teams. We're going to talk about 3 of them in our third segment here, leading off with Julian's Carolina Panthers. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while the industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process even smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SH for Supply House and then NFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Here's the promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service. And today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is alive and kicking. We're 1/3 of the way through, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, the biggest thing is you got to watch it before the game to make sure people don't pop themselves in their eye and get concussions before the action even starts. So you got to make sure you don't hinder yourself. But FanDuel will update that in real time before you actually make your wager. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and do it and make sure you get started. Win your first $5 bet and get $300 across the app. JC, I want you to tell me about the Carolina Panthers. I would pull a clip up, but it's just going to be you, so I might as well just let you do your thing right now. The boys are 3-3, man. My man Dowdle had a little bit of a revenge game yesterday against the Cowboys. What does this look like from the inside? And tell us, what do you see the long-term prognosis is for the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, obviously Rico Dowdle's been great the last 2 weeks. He's had an insane amount of rushing yards, gone over 200 yards last week, went 206 against Miami, 183 on Sunday, actually set a franchise record for most yards from scrimmage in a single game with 239. So he's been outstanding for them the last couple of weeks, and that's behind an offensive line that through 6 weeks has started 5 different offensive line combinations. And we see throughout the NFL and all levels of football, honestly, when there's O-line injuries, typically things fall apart. That is not happening in Carolina, in large part because they brought back all 9 of the guys they had last year, and they have that continuity. So the offense has been playing well recently. Defensively, they've given up 19 yards rushing against Miami, then 31 on Sunday against Dallas, who came in number 1 in total rush EPA, according to True Media. So they're on the right track. Dolphins are not a good football team. I don't think Dallas is a great team either. The Jets obviously are terrible. So I'm kind of wait and see mode. I had the press conference here with Dave Canales later on this afternoon. He did say back in the spring it'd take 4 to 6 weeks to know who this team is. I'm going to ask him who are the Carolina Panthers here in 2025 through these first 6 games where they sit at 3-3. But we'll find out more, because if they lose to the Jets, well, same old Panthers. They beat the Jets to be the first time they had a winning record since 2021, which that's how long it's been since they've been 500 as well. That was week 10 of the 2021 season, the game where Cam Newton came out and was back in Carolina. So it's been a while since they've been relevant. I don't think they're going to win the division, obviously, because Tampa Bay seems to be maybe the class of the NFC and a juggernaut at this point in time, with an MVP frontrunner, in my opinion, in Baker Mayfield. But after that game against the Jets, they have a home game against Buffalo. And I'll put home game in quotes because there's a lot of Buffalo Bills fans that live in Charlotte, and there's probably going to be a majority of Bills fans in there. So it won't be neutral side. It'll be a road game at home against Buffalo. And then they go to Green Bay. Those will be 2 litmus test games. So they beat the Jets. Awesome. They beat the Dolphins. Great. They beat the Cowboys. Fine, solid win. But against Buffalo and against Green Bay on the road, like, those will be the 2 games that really tell me who this team is and how good they can be this upcoming season or the rest of the season. But for me, it feels like they're a team that's kind of water's leveling. They've been underwater for years now. Water's leveled off, and maybe they can be an 8-win, maybe 7-win team this season, and they can build towards that moving forward in 2026.
I like it. And while this doesn't necessarily tell you, beating those teams doesn't tell you who they are, it tells you who they are no longer, because they could be lumped in with those guys, and they're separating themselves. And you got to take baby steps that we thought. First of all, I'm about to talk about the Patriots for all of the people who are in Carolina that also support the Tar Heels. You're safe here to talk about the Patriots and former North Carolina Tar Heel Drake May, or at least listen, because they're doing more than taking baby steps. They look like a real good team, and we're already, Julie and I are sitting here, maybe even putting them in wild card conversation. Here's my man, Nick Cattles, talking about their victory against the Saints yesterday.
Drake May. That's all you have to say. Almost flawless in the first half, and he continues to absolutely dice defenses on third down, including the game-sealing play down in New Orleans on this Sunday. 3rd and 11, back shoulder throw to Kayshon Boutte. Perfect execution. First down, game over. Join me, Nick Cattles, to talk about the 3rd straight win for the Patriots, a professional win down in New Orleans on Locked On Patriots.
Yeah, another team that didn't beat a very good team, but those are the games you have to win in the National Football League if you want to separate yourself from those bottom groups of teams.
Well, absolutely. They blew out Carolina. They beat New Orleans. And really, when they play Atlanta and they play Tampa, like that will be an interesting game to just see, especially the game when they play against Tampa in week 10. And that will be on the road against the Bucs. That will be a pretty good indicator of who New England really is. But looking at their schedule upcoming, they got a chance to really have a long winning streak here, because they have at Tennessee next week. They have Cleveland at home after that. That should be 5 straight wins for the Patriots, and a team then sitting at, what would that be, 6-2?
Unreal.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6-2. So then they have Atlanta at home, and then that would be the game at Tampa Bay. And I mean, this schedule is kind of it's the NFL. I understand week-to-week league, any given Sunday, blah blah blah. They still have the Jets twice, which yikes. The Bengals. They're not going to have Joe Burrow back by that point in time. They get the Giants there. Then, of course, they have Buffalo again. They have Miami, and that's Miami in week 18. Lord knows that Mike McDaniel ain't going to be coaching that team by then, and who knows what's going to be happening with Tua and all that. So, and then Baltimore on the road. The Patriots are in a really good spot, and if they can pull off a win against Tampa, and, of course, they can beat Buffalo again, maybe they win the division. Yeah. So, things have really changed for New England heading into the year, into now where they sit for 6 weeks into things, and looking at the rest of the schedule and where some of those teams that we thought would be at and where they actually are at. Wow. Look at you. And Drake May, obviously he's incredible. So not surprised.
Another look at you team I got to give an honorable mention here, because I saw it firsthand yesterday, Seattle. And I'm not just saying this because the Jaguars lost to Seattle at home after the Monday night win over Kansas City. I'm telling you, they are a sound football team. They don't ask Sam Darnold to do a whole bunch, but when they do ask him to do something, he actually has the arm talent to do what they ask him to do. So watch out for Seattle. I got a feeling that over the next several weeks, that's going to be a team you and I are going to be talking about here on Locked On NFL on Mondays. Anything on Seattle?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll talk about things opening up for a team. San Francisco mentioned earlier, Fred Warner, he's done for the year. Nick Bosa, he's done for the year. Brock Purdy's been injured. Brandon Ayuk hasn't played yet. The only one of their top 5 highest paid players who's playing out there is Trent Williams. So, I mean, that's a situation where you feel good if you're Seattle in the NFC West. You also look down there at Arizona. They've now lost 4 straight, and doesn't look like things are going to get better there moving forward potentially. And then after that, I mean, the Rams are great. That Puka Nacua, seeing the reports coming out here now from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network that Sean McVay said he's day-to-day. So that's great news there on the NFL's top receiver so far this season. But it's going to come down, it seems like, to Seattle and LA, the Rams, for that division title this year, much like last year. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Sam Darnold playing well. Mike McDonald, which a Harbaugh guy, first under Jim at Michigan, and then under John with the Ravens. Great defensive coach, and he's fixed that defense in Seattle.
No doubt about it. You want to get fixed up, all you got to do, man, is check out Locked On NFL Daily. That's right. And you get a twice-a-day dose of it with Tyler Rowland, the madman, waking you up early in the morning with a double shot of espresso. And then you get the barbershop right here. I get people like Julian Council to come on here and make this show sound very, very smart. And we appreciate him. Make sure you check him out at Locked On Panthers. They're on a little bit of a winning streak. They won some games up there, man. So tune in to Julian at Locked On Panthers. And I'll be here on Locked On NFL. We don't take you for granted. You spent 30 minutes with us today, and we absolutely appreciate it. Come on back tomorrow and make yourself an everyday. Thank you again. We'll see you.